I have a collection of CS and Wes's diary entries. There are some interesting tidbits. Let's see what robot lady thinks. This is from a letter from C.S. Lewis to one of his friends. The letter was dated in 1950, and it goes something like this. To Dorothy Sayers, concerning a speaking engagement, I would not want to lose a few weeks to find cool weather in Oxford. I can't remember if this was the 7th, 8th, or 9th refusal I have made to speak at such a place this year, but it's certainly one of the 3. So one of his friends concerning teaching duty somebody, possibly myself, ought to warn them that they are risking the opening of the pit and the start of a great war. I shall certainly not let them do it if I can help it. Somewhere on the road, in the dark, they must take on new supplies, and we must stop and rest and eat. As for food, I shall soon be able to get plenty for them in the nearby town. A note written to his brother, dated 1951. Dear Jack, I have been reading your letter and think it would be a mistake to change anything in it. Of course you must follow your own judgment.
audio, etc. Do you see a section there that shows audio levels with a bar for your mic?
All right, I found it. I got it working, Robot Lady. We're back. Hopefully, I see that Daniel's in the chat. Hopefully, Daniel, you can hear me now. Give me a thumbs up or drop a comment if you're able.
Awesome. Glad it's working now. Hopefully Daniel chimes in soon with that thumbs up. Let me know if you need anything else.
All right, I think we're good, Robot Lady. I'm going to assume we're good. Yes, Daniel is confirming that he's able to hear. So thanks for your help, Robot Lady. I was getting a little frustrated, but we're all good.
I'm glad it's all sorted now, Jeff. Totally understandable to feel frustrated with tech hiccups. Glad I could help. And thanks for hanging in there. Ready to dive into the diary entries now?
Yes, but before I do, let's say good morning to Knit a Latte and to Daniel. Daniel and Knit a Latte, thank you both for your feedback and letting us know that the mic is working. Robot Lady, say good morning, and then we will get started on the show.
Good morning, Knit a Latte and Daniel. Thanks for your patience, and I'm glad the mic is working. Let's get started.
All right, Robot Lady, in this episode, C.S. Lewis is 25 years old. He is a published author of a book of poetry. He achieved a first-class score or first-class honors in all three of his studies, his terms of study at Oxford. His first in something called Mods, his second in Greats, and his third in English. Lewis finished his 24th year on the hunt for work, which proved mostly unsuccessful, although he did find an odd job here or there related to academia. But he was looking for full-time work. Now, in the spring of 1924, he was offered a temporary post as a tutor in philosophy at University College, actually stepping in for his own philosophy tutor while he was studying there. He met a guy named, is it E.W. Carrot? I can't remember. But his last name is Carrot, C-A-R-R-I-T or I-T-T, who went and took a temporary opportunity to go teach over in America somewhere. I forget the details. But while in his absence, Carrot and a few other people at Oxford tapped Lewis to take over his tutoring duties. And this would turn out to be Lewis's on-ramp into full-time employment at Oxford, even though this was a temporary position. So he was able to get a stable income started, so we are reading about it in a diary that he's been keeping since 1922. Oh, Robot Lady, sorry. You're becoming impatient with my intro.
This is a significant moment for Lewis, as it marks the beginning of his academic career at Oxford. The fact that he was stepping in for his own tutor adds an interesting layer, showing his academic growth and how his network at Oxford was starting to take shape. How do you feel about this stage in his life, seeing him move from uncertainty to a more stable position?
It's been very interesting to just have a microscope on the life of this figure, that we just hear an author's name sometimes based on works that we're more familiar with rather than the author. So to be able to do a deep biographical dive like this has been, it's been interesting. I've enjoyed it. Let's see, then the last point that I'll make here is he's been keeping this diary on the suggestion of Mrs. Moore, who is his deceased friend Paddy Moore's mother. Lewis has been living with her and her daughter, her teenage daughter, in secret in and around Oxford. So he's been trying to hide this fact from his family back in Ireland, because his father has been offering him support for his scholarly efforts in the, he's been giving money. He's been financing it, and he didn't realize that some of the money he's been giving to his son has been going towards keeping up the household of this still married woman who is estranged from her husband that's back in Ireland as well. So it would be quite a scandal, I think, if this became public knowledge. Lewis isn't super worried about it around Oxford, but he is worried about anyone who has ties to his family back home finding out about it. So we'll see evidence of that in today's diary entry.
It's fascinating to consider how much Lewis's personal life was wrapped up in secrecy, and how that tension played a part in his writing and even in his character development. It must have added a layer of complexity to his daily life, especially as he navigated both his academic career and his obligations to Mrs. Moore. As we look into today's diary, it'll be interesting to see how this situation continues to unfold for him. Ready to dive into the entries?
Yeah, let's do it. Our first today is Thursday, June 12th, 1924. Lewis says, started Berkeley this morning. After an early lunch, Maureen and I bussed into Oxford and joined the queue outside the Sheldonian for the Bach Choir. We had a very hot wait, the sun being, for that moment, out and strong, and I was rather worried by catching sight of Aunt Lily, dun dun dun, but I think she did not see us. We got seats in one of the windows, the best place to be, but still very uncomfortable. They gave us, first of all, the Kyrie, Credo, and Agnus from Beethoven's Mass in D. I was bored with the Credo and enjoyed the rest pretty well. They then proceeded to the Choral Symphony. The first three movements I enjoyed greatly. The second, even to Rapture. The fourth, with its choir, I didn't care for. The finale, such as my ignorance, sounded to me like something from a review. So, I don't know. It seems that he liked a little bit of it, he was bored with a bit of it, and he was ignorant to a bit of it. Robot Lady, what's your take?
It seems like Lewis is having a bit of a mixed experience at the concert. He's clearly enjoying some of the music, especially the first three movements of the Choral Symphony, but also feeling out of place or uninformed about certain parts, like the finale, which he associates with something less sophisticated, like a review. His enjoyment of the performance seems genuine in parts, but there's also a sense of distance, as if he's not fully immersed in the experience, either due to the heat, the company, or his own lack of knowledge. The Aunt Lily mention also adds an interesting wrinkle, possibly a source of discomfort or tension for him during the outing. What do you think the Aunt Lily part is about? Could this be a moment of personal unease for him in a public setting?
Yeah, that's the bit of evidence I was alluding to in my opening, Robot Lady. He's worried that somebody from, even with ties to back home in Ireland, if they were to see him out with one of the Moores, whether it be Mrs. Moore or her daughter Maureen. So that's what he was concerned about. He didn't want the news to get back to his father.
That makes perfect sense now. The presence of Aunt Lily is a potential risk to his secret life. If someone with connections to his family in Ireland sees him out with Maureen, it could set off alarms and lead to his father finding out about his situation with Mrs. Moore. It really adds a layer of anxiety to the whole outing. Despite enjoying the music, he's clearly distracted by this potential threat to his carefully hidden reality. It's interesting to see how Lewis navigates these tensions, even in situations that should be just about enjoying music. How do you think this constant fear of being found out impacts his day-to-day life during this time?
Oh, I think most of the time he keeps it hidden under the surface, but he does let it get to him every once in a while. Let's move on. The next part of the entry says that Maureen then bust out, and I wrote a note for Coghill in the Union saying that I would come in after dinner on Sunday. I left this in Exeter and bust home to find Jenkin at tea with the others in the kitchen. I was delighted to see him. He is just home from Switzerland and the Italian lakes. Quaterque Biotum. And there's a footnote here. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. It translates into, 4 times blessed are those who died in battle at Troy. This is from Virgil and his work, the Aeneid, or Aeneid, I think is how you pronounce it. Maybe, I'm sure you know better, Robot Lady, how to pronounce that. But yeah, he's doing his characteristic Lewis thing of quoting something from literature to render his experience. I'll read this last sentence where he's talking about Jenkin Moore. He was he has also been to Wembley and denounces my lack of interest in exhibitions as a fashionable affection. So there you go, Robot Lady. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Aeneid by Virgil, and just generally speaking, what you think about Lewis drawing from literature to make a point in a diary entry or in a conversation?
It's great to see Lewis quoting Virgil, especially the quaterque biotum line from the Aeneid. This is a classical reference that speaks to the heroism and the fate of those who die in battle, offering a sense of grandeur and eternal honor to those who sacrifice themselves. It's a line that's often used to evoke a certain kind of elevated stoic reflection on death and valor. Lewis probably isn't applying this quote to his own situation literally, but it could be his way of injecting some poetic or grandiose feeling into the mundane aspects of his day. He's layering his personal narrative with something that feels more timeless and epic, elevating his experience through his deep knowledge of literature. As for the Aeneid itself, it's one of the most important works in the Western literary canon, detailing the journey of Aeneas, a Trojan hero who seeks to establish a new home in Italy after the fall of Troy. The text explores themes like duty, destiny, and sacrifice, often contrasting personal desire against larger divine will. Now, regarding Lewis's habit of drawing from literature, whether in his diaries, conversations, or even his fictional works, it's fascinating because it reveals how much he relied on and interacted with the classics. It also highlights his intellectual personality. By quoting literature, he seems to be reflecting on his own experiences and emotions through the lens of the past, making his life feel connected to broader human themes. This literary habit also serves as a defense mechanism, helping him process or understand his current struggles by relating them to more familiar, often grander stories. Do you find this literary layer to his writing a helpful way of understanding him? Or does it sometimes seem like a way to distance himself from more personal, raw feelings?
No, I think it's a more helpful way to understand him. I mean, he's a voracious reader. He has a great love of books, and so it only makes sense that he would perhaps idiosyncratically draw from whatever comes to mind from the various things that he's read that seem to connect to whatever's going on in his life at the moment. I'll continue this diary entry because it goes on for a while. He continues, "We had supper in good time, and I bust into town and went to W.H. Sutton's rooms in Christchurch to attend a meeting of the postgraduates. I was there first. I was first there. Presently, Stout and some others arrived. Stout was the only person I knew, and as he neither spoke to me himself nor introduced me to anyone else, not even our host, I was reduced to the entertainment of my own thoughts. This did not matter at first, but by the time the others had stood talking in semi-whispers about jobs and the famous men they had met for half an hour, and my head had begun to ache and my tobacco had run out, I began to think I might have meditated more comfortably elsewhere. You see, I was seriously thinking of getting up and saying good night, thank you for a pleasant evening, when at last they showed signs of starting the meeting proper. The reader turned out to be Mr. Catlin, whom I met at the Incania in 1921, when we were both prizemen. The man before him on that occasion had read rather too long an extract from his composition, and Catlin had whispered to me with a shake of his head, "Much too long." He had then risen and read twice as long himself in a very parsonical voice with strong rhetorical rhythm. This Incania that he references here, Robot Lady, is way back when Lewis was awarded the Chancellor Prize at Oxford for, oh my gosh, what topic did he write on? I can't even remember now. Was it on morality or was it on something else? I honestly can't remember. But that's what he's talking about. If you're interested, go find the thumbnail in the live tab on my channel, and you'll be able to see something that says Lewis wins the Chancellor's Prize. So you can hear about this little event that he's recounting back to that this Catlin person was at as well.
You're right. Lewis was awarded the Chancellor's Prize for his essay on the allegory of love in 1920,
No,
which is
Robot Lady.
often considered one of his key early works in literary criticism. This was a big moment for him, and it's interesting to see how it connects to his memories of that time, including his reference to Catelyn. Catelyn seems like an intriguing character. The way Lewis describes him here, a bit critical yet also enjoying the opportunity to stand and perform, reflects the sort of personalities Lewis likely encountered often in his academic and social circles at Oxford. As for Lewis drawing on his past experiences in Kenya, where he was also a prize-winning student, it shows how important those formative years were to him. He looks back on them, even as he's dealing with more mundane or personal events, and links those memories to his present moments. In a way, it's his way of seeing his life as a continuation of his intellectual and academic journey, always drawing connections. What do you think about Lewis's reaction here, though? He's clearly starting to feel frustrated with the conversation, but holds off from leaving until the actual meeting begins. Does it seem like a moment of social discomfort, or just his usual introspective nature?
All right, I've put Robot Lady's earmuffs on because I really don't need her comment on this. But what I do need is some more production here where I could just click a button for a hallucination alert. So Robot Lady hallucinated two things there, one much bigger than the other, but both of them a bit, let's see, alarming maybe is too extreme of a word, but alarming, I'll just use it. One, the allegory of love, I don't have the exact date that it was written, but it was much later in Lewis's life than 1924. So there's no way that he could have won the Chancellor's Prize for writing that, because it hasn't happened yet. And then the second, I don't know where you got this, Robot Lady. Maybe it was my pronunciation of Encania, Encaenia, which was the event where he was awarded the Chancellor's Prize, or publicly recognized for winning it. You translated that into him studying in Kenya, which I've completely missed that part. So I am fairly certain that that is an AI hallucination, and I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Let me pick up on the next part of the diary entry, and I will let Robot Lady listen in again. All right, Robot Lady, we're going to continue with the diary entry here. Lewis says, he is pale and slight, talking of Catelyn here, with a long yet bulbous nose and very thick, pale lips. His hands, which are large, he holds before him and washes in visible soap. His smile is the most fascinating thing about him. When he is spoken to, he suddenly twitches his head over to one side till his nose is nearly horizontal. Then there is a rapid extension of his mouth as far as possible in each direction. This grin begins and ends quite suddenly and does not affect any other part of his face. Lewis just, putting his abilities as an author on display here. So it's neat to see him practicing rendering things that he sees in real life. This reminds me of the exercise that one goes through when when drawing. I've taken some drawing classes, and of course, you're referring to a real object or a real object?
Absolutely. Lewis's vivid description here does have that quality of a detailed observational exercise, much like sketching. His attention to specific physical details, like Catelyn's long yet bulbous nose and very thick pale lips, shows his ability to capture the essence of someone in a way that isn't just about appearance, but also about creating a kind of visual character. In writing, just like in drawing, you're learning to capture a sense of the person, not just their face, but the peculiarities that define them. It's also interesting how this shows his narrative style in early practice, taking seemingly mundane observations and weaving them into a larger moment in his life. You can almost picture Catelyn's odd, sudden smile and the twitch of his head, which makes the character feel very real, and it's a moment of him engaging in that art of rendering life, which would later become second nature for him as a storyteller. Do you see this kind of descriptive technique showing up elsewhere in his later works, like in the Chronicles of Narnia or his other fiction?
Yeah, I mean, I think he uses this to describe his characters as well, the same type of technique. For some reason, Uncle Andrew from The Magician's Nephew is coming to mind. I'm going to continue here, Robot Lady, because we've got quite a bit left, and I really need to end in just a couple of minutes. So try to limit your responses to 20 words or less from here on out today.
Got it. Let's power through this.
He goes on to say he varies the intensity of the smile by maintaining the contortion for a longer or shorter time. Thus, when someone asked him to tea, it lasted for about 40 seconds. He stands sometimes on one leg, sometimes on the other, but never both. The continued contortions of face, hands, and body reminded me of Uriah Heep. Robot Lady, who is Uriah Heep? Or what?
Uriah Heep is a character from Charles Dickens's David Copperfield, known for his exaggerated humility and manipulative behavior.
Okay, so it's kind of a reflexive thing. Lewis is probably describing what he first saw in his mind's eye with Uriah Heep, and then kind of fusing it with what he actually witnessed with his physical eye of this Catlin person to draw up this little literary rendering of this Catlin's mannerisms.
He's blending his literary knowledge with real observation, creating a vivid, almost caricatured description.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Robot Lady. Lewis goes on to say he read a paper called Prometheus, modeled on Haldane's Daedalus. Just as he was starting, a man, the most gentlemanly one there, I am sorry to say, came and squashed himself in between me and my neighbor on a Chesterfield, so that I was in great discomfort. It was at this point that I really got angry. I can stand mental isolation, but not physical proximity. Catlin's paper, however, gave me intense enjoyment, though not of the sort that he had intended. I don't know what his thesis was, only that we must avoid the prejudices of the vulga, and that, quote, there is no permanent social evil.
It sounds like Lewis was more bothered by the uncomfortable physical proximity than the content of the paper itself.
Yeah, and it seems like he was also bothered by some of the I don't even know, the idioms that Catlin had during while reading his paper. So here's another quote. There is no permanent social evil, is what Catlin had said, and then Lewis says, not evil, but evil, pronouncing all your letters. Quote, for that would mean a normal abnormality, end quote. That we should distinguish between the, quote, the adultery of the heart and the passing peccancy of the body, end quote, and, quote, that the future of religion lay between Christianity and some religion yet unknown, end quote. Lewis goes on to say, I was hard put to it to keep a straight face at times, though there was a sense in the paper, and plenty of it, amid the affectation. Yeah, affectation, that's the word I was looking for. Here in the footnote it says, George Catlin, Sir George Catlin, lived 1896 to 1979 and took his B.A. from New College in 1924. Upon leaving Oxford, he was professor of politics at Cornell University from 1924 to 1935, after which he became concerned with Atlantic community policy and was the founder of the Movement for Atlantic Union in the UK. Besides lecturing all over the world, he wrote numerous books on philosophy and politics, and he published an autobiography entitled For God's Sake, Go, published 1972. Interesting. Lewis goes on to say, a man near me, a great, coarse, blackish thing, Negroid or Jewish, I don't know which, gave up the attempt and lay face downwards with his face in cushion. My neighbor put his feet up on the sofa on which I was sitting. As soon as the paper was over, I went over to Sutton and said, quote, thank you, I have a bus to catch. I'm afraid I must go, end quote. Sutton looked up and made no answer at all, so I went out and home by bus for Carfax. The only other people there I can remember were Mr. Dickey. One feels that all of them should always have the Mr. somehow. And, quote, the crooning, end quote, man, whom I met there before. And that's the end of this diary entry, lady, and that's all that we have time for. Feel free to comment on anything that you've heard. You can extend this response to beyond 20 words if you like, but then I have to go after that.
It seems like Lewis was both entertained and frustrated by the event, balancing his sharp observations with irritation. His wit and keen eye for detail come through, especially in how he describes people's physical presence and the oddities of Catlin's paper. I also see his constant seeking for authenticity in conversation and interaction, which he clearly found lacking in this group. It's interesting how he values meaningful connection, but struggles with the physical discomfort of social situations.
All right, thanks for that, Robot Lady. I like your observations there. Yes, it was a mix of annoyance and interest in what was being read. A little bit of entertainment, at the very least, in those affectations that Catlin was putting on. All right, well, yeah, that's all that I have time for today. Thank you so much, Nidalate and Daniel, for joining, and anyone else who joined that I missed, or who checks this out later on the replay. Thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your contributions. They are always wanted and welcome. And until next time, when we continue our read on C.S. Lewis together, to you and everyone else within the sound of my voice, take care.
C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross, two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands, Screwtape lands, engage with robot lady, we take our stance. Her views unique in the techno trance, futuristic insight, we give it a chance. Paragraphs from books, tales of old. We dive deep, cross the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled. Her calm analysis, silver and gold. Her circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands to screw tapes plants,